If you're stuck financially, it's probably because of this one key thing. Driven Mofos, welcome back to another episode of The Underestimated Entrepreneur. All right, today we are talking about poverty and wealth. Now, most people that I speak to want to get ahead financially, and I'm sure you want to make more money and get ahead financially as well, or I assume you wouldn't be listening to this podcast. Now, the key thing with this, and it's the one thing that most people don't think about when it comes to making money, and that's the reason why most people don't make money or they don't get ahead financially. And it comes down to the way that they use their mindset. If you have poverty thinking and you have a poverty-driven mindset that is based upon fear, worries, concern, stresses, competing with everybody else, worrying that there's not enough, worrying that you're not doing enough, and you're always stressed, worried, concerned, and fearful, then don't be surprised if you never reach your financial capacity. It's just, you'll never get there. Those who tend to reach great heights have a mindset that allows them to reach great heights. It's a mindset game. Money is a mindset game. In fact, I was just watching an interview with Jeff Bezos, super fascinating. And he was talking about, I think it's called Blue Origin, their space expeditions and what he wants to do and everything like that, and him building rockets and all that sort of stuff. Between him, Richard Branson, Elon Musk, a lot of those big guys, they're really building a lot of stuff for space at the moment, building a lot of spacecraft, a lot of rockets and all that. And one of the key things he said is that if you want to make money, don't start a space agency, because he said you just lose so much money because there's so much inefficiency that you start with that then you've got to refine things and everything has to get better and lighter. And, you have to keep working on these processes to make it more efficient and more effective. And he said it just takes so much money. It soaks up so much cash. But what's really, really cool is that he's not worried about that. He just thinks about the outcome that he wants. He thinks about what he's trying to create. He's thinking about what he's going to do. He's thinking about the legacy that he's leaving. And it's really fascinating to listen to him think through how he operates. Now, this is probably the reason why he's the richest person on the planet. I doubt he is the richest person on the planet, or one of. I think currently at the moment he is. But the question that I have for most people is he the richest person on the planet because he started with a wealthy mindset and he just focused on his vision, he focused on his mission, he focused on what he was trying to achieve. And because of that, his decision-making reflected that. And so even in financial hardship, he was still able to stay focused on the direction, the vision, the mission, and where he wanted to be. And so he kept making decisions that empowered him in that direction. All of a sudden, he's got one of the most successful companies on the planet. He's one of the richest people on the planet, and the rest is history. Now, I think most people think that people have a wealthy mindset because they have money, versus that people who don't have money don't have a wealthy mindset. If I really think about it, like if you go back and you read books about Elon Musk and you go and watch old interviews, he was always outcome focused. He was never money focused. He was outcome focused and he kept driving towards an outcome that he wanted to achieve. He had a wealthy mindset, which is why he created great wealth. Like, go and read books on Rockefeller. Go and read books about JP Morgan. Go and read about the richest people on the planet throughout time. They normally had a goal or a mission that they were focused on, and they were just driven towards that. And what you'll find is that they have times of financial hardship. Things get easier for them financially. Then they have hardship. Then things get better for them financially. But they always stay focused on making decisions based on the objective that they're trying to create or the outcome that they're trying to create. What I find is that most broke people are broke mentally. And they're broke mentally because they're always trying to make money. And that means that they're not focused on the outcome. They're focused on the money. And the money is the byproduct of the value that they create based on what they're trying to offer the world. If you listen to Jeff Bezos' interview, he's talking the whole time around what he's trying to do for humanity, what he's trying to do for the world, how they allocate resources, what his big outcome is, how he wants to be remembered when he's not here. These are huge outcomes. He is really focused on achieving something great in life. And so his decisions reflect that, whether money's involved or not involved. That's how he makes decisions, which is why he's rich. Because he has a wealthy mindset, wealthy bank account, wealthy life, versus poverty mindset, poverty life, stuck financially. That's how most people operate. They go, when I have the money, then I'll change the way I think. But the reason why they don't change the way they think is because they never have the money. And so they're always stuck. They always get stuck behind that glass ceiling. And then what tends to happen is they tend to rush things. They never really fully commit to anything. They're in and out of stuff all the time. They're always looking for shortcuts. And so it just creates all of these problems and adversities within this person's life, which then creates more stress, more frustration, more worry, more concern, and they never really get ahead financially. Now, there's no reason, especially if you live in Australia, America, or any of the westernized world, that anyone should be struggling financially, because there is so much opportunity out there to get ahead. It's just most people don't know how to tap into it because they've been taught how to think a certain way. And most people are taught how to think in the lower class or the lower middle class mindset, or even the middle class. The lower class always think that to get ahead financially, you've just got to be lucky. So they're the ones who normally gamble a lot. They tend to consume a large amount of alcohol. They tend to use a large amount of drugs. They're always looking for shortcuts. They do a lot of illegal shit. And if they're not doing illegal shit, they think that luck is going to change it for them. So they end up going in a lot of lotto. Then you jump into the middle class. And in the middle class people think that if you just work harder, you'll make more money, which you do sort of. But the day you stop working hard is the day your money stops, which is why most people who have small businesses work their fucking ass off, never really get ahead financially. And when they do, they go on holidays and then they come back and they're broke again. And then they go, fuck, I got to work hard again. And so they never really get out of the rat race. That's the middle class way of thinking. It's a mindset. It's a psychology. And most people never break out of it because they just don't do the work on their head. I invested $1 million in learning before I made my first $1 million. Now, if I said to someone, if you want to get to $1 million, you have to invest $1 million first in your own mindset and your own personal growth. Most people would never fucking do it. They would never fucking do it. They just wouldn't. Because they don't believe in themselves enough to do it. When I was younger, I knew that I was mentally fucked. I mentally came from a lower middle class family. They only had two options. Well, really, we're lower middle class. Was just work hard. My dad had two jobs. My mum always worked. And then she was super frugal and just saved everything. Now, my dad used to build custom cars, or he still builds custom cars for a hobby, but he would do everything himself. So to build a custom car would take him like 3 years, because he'd always have to do side jobs and he'd have to hustle to try and get a little bit of extra cash so he could spend it on the cars. That's where I get my work ethic from. Now, it's cool because I'm a hard worker. But what I realized is that most of the time they didn't work smart. They weren't working effectively. Dad wasn't focused on the value that he was creating in society. He was focused on making money, so he'd just work flat out. If he had to work 80-hour days, he'd just work 80-hour days to make more money. That's non-effective. You get to a point where you cap out. And most of you who are listening to this are capping out financially. And you're capping out financially because you can't work any harder. And that's your strategy. That's middle class. Or the other way that the middle class think is that if I educate myself more and I learn more about a set topic, then I'll make more. But the thing is, I personally make more than most high-level executives. Why? Because I realize that just because you have a university degree and just because you keep learning about a certain topic doesn't make you any smarter or any more valuable. Eventually you cap out. And so there are other ways that you have to do that. You have to solve real life problems in society, not just solve a problem within a business, and that's it. Now that's one way of doing it. You might be upper middle class, but you'll never really get ahead financially. The key thing is that it's mindset. Mindset is the number one thing that helps people to break free financially, but you have to build the right mindset to build wealth. It's not the mindset of education. It's the mindset of financial education. It's the mindset of building your own wealth, your own self-worth, your own value in what you do. And over time, that will grow and it will grow and it will grow and it will grow. Now, everyone starts in different positions. Some people, they just have a more value-built mindset from a young age. I have some friends of mine, they hardly work, they just cruise through life, and they still make $500,000 a year, right? I have other people that I know who work their absolute fucking asses off, and they cap out at maybe 150 to 200K, maybe 300K a year in their business, right? But the difference is that 300K person, in order to go to the next level, has to change the way that they think. If the 500K person changed the way that they think, they could probably go to $1 million at least. If they changed the way that they think in the way that they worked and started an effective business and created value in society, or they worked for someone else where they were heading major projects and stuff like that, they could go well and above and beyond where they're at. But they have to develop a wealth mindset, a wealthy psychology. They have to know what their point of difference is. They have to know how to add value and solve real problems. And if they do that, they'll create a large amount of money, right? But money is the byproduct of value. If you don't have value within yourself, there is no fucking way you're going to get ahead financially. None, right? You might do a little bit better, but the only way you're going to do that is by educating yourself more and getting a better job, or it's by working harder. And they're the only two strategies that most people have for wealth creation. Go to university, get a good job or a high paying job. Do more study, do more education, move up the scale a little bit. Go from an employee to a manager. Go from a manager to a mid-level manager. Go from mid-level manager to a high-level manager. That's how most of the corporate world operates. And that's great. You can work 20 years in an organization and you might make $300K a year every year. You're essentially going to operate with the golden handcuffs, which is that if you leave, you're fucked. So financially, you have to stay working for the same business, the same organization. And the best thing that's ever going to happen in a larger organization is that you become a partner. Now, some high-level partners in some large firms might earn $1 million a year. But if you get out there and you solve real-world problems, you can probably be making way more than that. You will make a lot more than that. It's a mindset shift that has to happen. It's a mindset thing. But most people don't realize it's a mindset thing, which is the reason why they're financially capped. So, wealth starts in the mind and then is created through your actions and behaviors and your habits. If your mindset is shit, your actions, your behaviors, and your habits will be shit, which means even when you get money, you'll fuck it all up and eventually lose it. Or you'll live super frugally and really tight and you'll never get to enjoy life. And again, they're the same strategies that most middle-class people have. Is live like a poor person for your whole entire life so that you can get ahead and make wealth. That's crazy. You essentially destroy your life so that you can have wealth, which is security for someone who's scared. That's a bad strategy. I think it's a shit strategy. Then on the other hand, you have the other people that work their ass off their whole life, but the moment they stop working is the moment that they go backwards financially. That also isn't a good strategy. There's a sweet spot in the middle, which is if you keep educating yourself, you keep learning, you keep growing, but especially if you work on your own mindset, you'll see opportunities, you'll be more creative, you'll solve real world problems, and you'll get ahead way more financially. Go and look at the greatest and wealthiest people throughout history. They all have commonalities. That's why I study them. When someone talks about wealth, most of the time they don't even know wealth, unless they've studied the wealthiest people on the planet consistently throughout history. There's a great book called The Book of Wealth, and it's about some of the greatest civilizations throughout history. There are common patterns in there. Go and read the autobiographies on Elon Musk, JP Morgan, Henry Ford, all the great people who changed countries by the way that they think, the way that they operate, especially America. They've been the superpower over the last 100 years. So they have a lot of the wealthiest people. Prior to that was the English Empire. So go and study some of the wealthiest people throughout the English Empire. Then go back and then go and study some of the Northern European countries. They were some of the wealthiest countries on the planet before that. And then you can go back and look at kings and emperors and so on, and you'll see that they think differently. Wealth is created in the mind. Then it is followed by actions and habits. If the mind is distorted, fucked up, there's a lot of doubt, worry, fear, all of that sort of shit, that person can never live a wealthy life no matter how much money they have. Anyway, Driven Mofos, hope you enjoyed this episode. Keep working on your mindset, keep working on your head, keep growing personally, and watch what happens. Over time, your life will get better, but also your bank account will get better as well. Stay driven, Driven Mofos. Most people waste their life, and I just don't want you to be one of them.